Welcome to a work-life series workshop offered by Work-Life Benefits here at the University of Kentucky. Today we're going to be talking about sleeping well, and we have our guest speaker with us today, Amy Rodquist-Kodet. She is one of our wellness specialists and our health coach here at the university, working in our health and wellness program. So, Amy, thank you so much for being with us today. We are really looking forward to hearing your wonderful tips on just supporting our sleep habits.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Azetta. I was thrilled when you asked to have me talk about sleep. Everybody, this is one of my favorite topics. As Azetta said, I am a health coach. I teach a lot of classes here for faculty and staff on well-being and resilience. But boy, oh boy, if I could teach a whole series on the power of sleep and the tricky parts of sleep. My guess is you are here because sleep is tricky for a lot of us. And in fact, if you wouldn't mind, drop in the chat of where is your sleep slippery spots? Is it falling asleep? Is it getting to sleep on time? Is it maybe waking up in the middle of the night? Where is the rub for you when it comes to sleep? Maybe it's all the above. Uh, Let me tell you, I've heard it all, but I'd love to hear from y'all. Where is it tricky for you when it comes to sleep? Kind of looking in the chat here. Yeah, okay. Waking up in the middle of the night, definitely. Waking up and not being able to fall back to sleep. I know, y'all, that is the trickiest of all. Quality. Always waking up and feeling unrested. Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Somebody else. I am a night owl. I'm about as night owl. Like, I think if I could create my perfect sleep schedule, it would be like probably going to bed at like 1 a.m., waking up at 10. I mean, that would be like my dream. But as we know, that is not the reality for those of us with jobs or maybe parents or, caregivers. We have a lot that has to happen. And so we're going to talk about where those tricky spots are for y'all and hopefully give you some tools that are going to be really helpful with increasing the quality, with supporting you in those middle of the night wake ups, which by far and away are the trickiest, I think, to kind of work with and manage. And I always like to say, if you have put all of these skills into practice and you are still struggling, or you still are feeling exhausted in the middle of the night or when you wake up, definitely reach out to your healthcare provider. I had a sleep study done about 3 years ago because I was just really, really struggling. And I got some really helpful information, and things have been a lot better. So I always like to say, like, definitely try these practices and get your doctor involved if you're finding you're needing some additional support. Okay, let's do it. So, yeah, Captain Obvious slide here today. If you are feeling tired, you probably need more sleep. Okay, presentation done. We're good here, right? I know. Folks, you know this. This is not new information, but the majority of adults need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And I know there are exceptions to the rule, but the research is really, really clear that the vast majority of us really need 7 to 8 hours of interrupted sleep. And I put the National Sleep Foundation's updated sleep recommendation based on age. I've got two 6-year-olds and a college freshman. Everybody's got different sleep needs in our world. You may notice you can kind of look here and see what might be going on for the folks that you may live with as well. But we know, and the research is very robust on this, that when we are able to get at least 7 hours of sleep, we are healthier and folks live longer. Less sleep is associated with all sorts of health concerns, including obesity and heart disease and depression and impaired immune function. Um, and so let's talk about like how can we support ourselves with getting the most sleep that we can? I always like to throw this in. Um, this we have four sleep stages, and each stage does a little bit of a different thing. I'm not going to go into it because it's quite in depth, but essentially our body moves through these stages and one, two, three, and four, or what's called REM sleep. And when our bodies are woken up, due to hormonal changes, folks dealing with, medication, chemo and radiation definitely disrupts sleep. Maybe you've got little people in your world and you're not getting sleep because you've got babies or little toddlers. Maybe you're a caregiver and you're the person you're caring for is waking you up, right? There are a lot of different things, and those waking up parts are really tricky because what happens is we get aroused from, that deeper sleep, that N1, N3 or N4 sleep, and we aren't able to kind of stay in that deeper sleep. And so it's sometimes folks can get a little fixated on like, we have devices that say, okay, I got this much of REM sleep or this much of deep sleep. I actually had a client recently that we had to have her stop wearing her device because she was actually so stressed out by the sleep report. So I always say, kind of go back to your body. Your body is going to give you really good information on how are you doing, how are you sleeping, and what, additional support do you need. All right. So on the days that we flourish, the seed has almost always been planted the night before, right? And it's a tricky loop because when we get bad sleep, when we maybe just get 5, 6 hours of sleep, we have less willpower. And then we have less willpower to like get us back into a sleep rhythm, and on it goes. And since most of us can't sleep later in the morning, one of the most powerful things we can do is to try to get ourselves to bed earlier. And yet there are so many reasons we don't, right? A piece of it is the revenge bedtime. I don't know if you've heard of this, but for a lot of us, we are so busy during the day with work and family responsibilities and extracurriculars that sometimes the only times we have to ourselves is late at night. I definitely fall into this camp. I feel like, okay, finally the house gets quiet. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden I've kind of got this burst of energy like, okay, what can I get myself into? How can I like really kind of have some downtime for myself? And it's tricky because those hours can really, really slip away from us. And as we mentioned, when we have less willpower, which we're tired, and then it makes it harder to get ourselves into bed, and really be able to soak up the fullness of the sleep. So we're going to talk about real, tangible, kind of boots on the ground research and support for what you can do to get yourself to bed early and then create an environment that is going to hopefully help you get to sleep and stay asleep a little bit longer. And I definitely heard you for those folks that have trouble waking up in the middle of the night. We're going to talk about that too. All right. So, how do we get ourselves to bed earlier? How do we get ourselves some more sleep? A few suggestions really based on Dr. Ron Friedman's research. He's a sleep psychologist. He does a lot with goal setting research. And one of the most consistent things we see throughout the research is to give yourself a bedtime, just like you had when you were a kid, right? Thinking to yourself about a specific time you want your head on the pillow and then kind of work backwards, right? So if you know, all right, you need to, be up by 7 a.m., kind of work backwards from that as to then the time that you want your head to fit on the pillow. Because what we know is it's not enough just to say, like, I just need to get to bed earlier, right? We want it to be specific, so that like, yeah, okay, I met that goal, I did that thing, or nope, missed that. I'm not getting to bed at 11. It's like 12 or 12:30 most nights. And that's what's also helpful about a nighttime audit. And that's what I'm going to suggest for you to do tonight and through the weekend is to begin a nighttime audit just noticing what are your bedtime patterns without judgment, without a whole bunch of criticism. Just kind of notice, what does bedtime look like for you? What are things that are working that you want to keep doing? What are things that you're like, yeah, no, not working. I find myself consistently falling asleep on the couch and waking up with a cranked neck at 2 a.m., right? Kind of be like, all right, what do I want to change? So that's where we can begin. Also, how do we get ourselves to bed earlier, right? Especially when we have so many things that are grabbing our attention, whether that mean our phones or, watching shows on Hulu or, all of the different things that are just kind of grabbing at our time. So, one place to begin is to create for yourself an enjoyable bedtime routine, one that entices you to wind down with predictability, right? So that you're going from this place of activity to rest. And I have Gretchen Rubin has wrote a really great book all about habits, and she talks about sleep. And she says, think of going to bed as a luxury, right? Instead of something you have to do, it's something you like are so looking forward to do. But we also know that being tired does not guarantee falling asleep quickly, right? How many of us are like exhausted? We get into bed and brrr, our brain starts to race of all of the things that we coulda, shoulda, woulda done today, things, conversations we had a long time ago, right? Our brain needs to be relaxed. And so that's what we're going to really talk about. How can we create a sustainable bedtime routine that moves you from activity to rest, as well as really thinking about how do we relax before bed. All right, so here are some ideas for you. The goal here is not to pick all these things, right? Your bedtime routine would be like 3 hours long if you did all the things, but I'm going to invite you to think about which ones resonate with you. Which ones do you want to try? So, for a lot of us, reading something calming, something that makes you happy before you go to bed can be a really great way to relax your body and your brain, right? So that might be fiction or poetry, philosophy, something spiritual. I personally cannot read like true crime bedtime thrillers, can't do it. It like definitely gets me in this state of like awakeness. But I have heard from many of you that crime and mystery is a great way for you to unwind, right? So that's going to look different for everybody. But what really would delight you? What would really help your body relax before bed? And I have here with an exclamation point, work emails don't count, right? Do not, under any circumstance, bring your work laptop to bed. Um, yeah, we definitely want to think about rest. Another powerful thing you can do is really pay attention to the temperature. Cooler temperatures help us fall asleep. The National Sleep Foundation recommends keeping that bedroom all year round between 60 to 67 degrees. It's a 7-degree variable there. And you may find that you and your bed partner may like things differently when it comes to kind of sheets and temperatures. So kind of thinking about, okay, what's going to work for you? Maybe that is having a fan on pointed in your direction. Maybe it is keeping the windows open or shut, depending on what time of year it is. But really think about how can you keep your bedroom cool. And there are a lot of products out there, right? The cooling bedtime sheets and pillows and mattress pads, and there's a lot of things out on the market. Some of them I've heard can be really helpful for folks, especially if you're dealing with perimenopause or menopause and you've got some hormone things going on. So trying some of those natural fibers. I know for my husband and I, we actually have like separate comforters. It's like two twin comforters because he likes a heavier down comforter. And I am like, yeah, no, that ship has passed. I need like cool, light cotton, right? So think for yourself, okay, like what do you need and what can really support yourself with creating a cooler temperature in the bedroom? avoiding those blue lights at least 30 minutes. A lot of research says between 30 to 60 minutes. So that is all those devices, right? Blue light suppresses the body's melatonin. That is our hormone that helps our brain and body to feel sleepy. So when we're on our devices, our brain and our body is very much tuned up and awake. So if you do need to be on your computer or you are like reading, on your Kindle or whatever, make sure that it is set for kind of that nighttime dark mode that is really going to help suppress some of that blue light. Another piece is to create a spa-like environment. What are things that you can do to create some somatic cues for your body and brain, right? Dimming the lights, playing soothing, soft music. Maybe it's getting a cup of tea before you go to bed, diffusing lavender essential oils or putting them on your PJs. What are things that you can do consistently? So again, that your body has got that cue of like, okay, I see what's happening. We're getting ready for bed. Gratitude is another powerful way to kind of help your body relax, to boost your mood and your overall sense of well-being, whether that's a gratitude list, a journal. I've had some clients write little thank you notes or postcards to people that they love before bed, sending a good night text to somebody that you really care about, just offering a bit of gratitude or, thanks and love for them. All of those things can really, really be helpful in helping that kind of that parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest part of your nervous system to come online and to relax. Meditation, huge. So many folks have found a lot of really good support when it comes to adult bedtime stories, soothing music, guided imageries, body scans. A lot of apps out there have got these calming tools that you can use before bed. And I will send Azetta the link to our Headspace app. We offer a benefit through health and wellness. It's a free subscription to the Headspace app. I don't know if any of y'all have used it, but they have got great things throughout the day, but especially at night. I have a soundtrack that I listen to. You can put it on for a variety of time. I put it on for 8 hours. They have great little sleep stories for kids and adults. My twin kindergartners listen to a, a sleep podcast. It's called Good Night World, and it's got like Sesame Street characters every single night. It is awesome. It's great for middle of the night wake ups as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this idea of having some sort of kind of that external calming support, whether that be through an app, a a sound machine, all of those things. You can even do it for yourself, a muscle scan. All of those things can really, really help that calming response and our bodies to just prepare to sleep. Closing of the day ritual. This one is really, really helpful if your brain buzzes when you lay down to sleep. It's something about this cognitive offloading. This idea of putting down on a piece of paper or sending yourself a note via text or even emailing yourself right before you go to bed unfinished tasks, and you might think like, oh man, that's just going to remind me of everything I have to do tomorrow. Research suggests that when we are able to like put it on a piece of paper or send ourselves a note of the things that we need to get done, that we actually reduce nighttime rumination and improve sleep onset, meaning folks who do that get to sleep faster. It's almost as if the brain thinks like, okay, I'm just gonna like give it to this piece of paper and I'm gonna rest and forget about it. And so you can remind your brain, right? If it comes back up of like, oh yeah, we gotta talk to, and starts listing all the things you gotta do in the morning, say, you know what? I put that down on that piece of paper. We will deal with it tomorrow, right? We are done for today. So definitely think about having a notebook by your bed to just create that cognitive offloading for your very busy brain. Another piece that can be really helpful in like regulating your environment is to just give yourself at least 30 minutes each night to wind down before attempting to sleep. So I have a bedtime alarm that I set on my phone, and it's got like this peaceful music that reminds me like, okay, yep, now is the time to start moving towards that restful sleep practice, because otherwise the night gets away from you and you're like, yeah, 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 okay, I'll get ready in just like 5 minutes. But the alarm really, really helps to remind you like the time is now. And what do you want that restful kind of this sleep hygiene or this sleep routine to look like for you? Think about 3 or 4 things that you can do and repeat regardless if you are, on vacation or you're at home or you're on a work trip, things that you can do consistently every night. You don't want it to be like complicated or cumbersome, but all of these things help to remind your body, okay, hey, I know what we're doing here. We're getting ready to sleep. We've got a hard and fast rule at the Rodquist-Kodet house to keep it a drama-free zone after 9 p.m. We we mainly did this because of our teenager who loves to bring up issues at like 11:30 at night, right? Like where were you at 2 p.m. when we could have actually talked this out? So, but this really works well for my husband and I as well, of like, don't talk about contentious stuff. If you know that it's going to be heated, that it's a delicate topic. Like, just leave it till the morning. Write yourself a note if you need to remember, schedule a time to talk about it with your loved ones. But the more that you can keep your bedtime area as like conflict free as possible, you are going to be able to like sleep so much better. And again, this does include work prep. Do not prep for work right before you are going to sleep. This is a tip that we use a lot at our house as well, called dimming the house like a sunset. My little guys really, really get into this, but it's this idea of like moderating your evening light increases that melatonin, right? That's that hormone that signals to your brain it's getting ready for sleep. It's very much connected with your circadian rhythm. Your brain reads the lowering of the light like an actual sunset, which is trickier now as it gets, the sun goes down later and later, which we love, right? We love a long summer evening. But anything you can do to lower the lights in your house ahead of time as you're getting ready for bed, it's another kind of stimulus response that your body and brain can recognize as getting prepped for bed. So my little guys love this, and they kind of trade off each night to lower the lights in the house. So even when you're getting ready for bed, if your kids are getting ready for bed, wherever, just having that dimming sunset effect can be another really helpful tool you can use. All right. Let's talk about those 3 a.m. wake ups because it is legit difficult, no doubt. One thing that I like a lot, and this goes to that cognitive offloading we were just talking about, is a practice called the circle of control, especially if you wake up in the middle of the night with your brain kind of moving and grooving. The circle of control is a really simple practice. You don't have to do it on a piece of paper. I find for me it's more effective. But basically, I got a notebook by my bed. I've got a little tiny reading lamp so I can do this without, waking up my husband. And basically what you do is you're going to draw a big circle on your little notebook paper, and in the middle of the circle you're going to write things within my control. And on the outside, you're going to write stuff that's not in my control. And then you do a worry dump. Write down the fears, write down the details, write down of all the stuff that is really, really weighing on you and sort it out between where you can have control, where you can actually take forward momentum action, and where you can't. And like, spoiler alert, anything that has to do with other people, what they're going to think or say or do. All that stuff goes on the outside of the circle. We got no control over that. Where we do have power is how we are going to respond, what we are going to do, right? And you may find that sometimes the situation is a little bit of both. Maybe you know you need to have a difficult conversation with a colleague. What you can put on the inside of your circle is like to bring it up and to say, hey, can we talk about X, Y, and Z? And maybe on the outside of the circle is how they're going to respond to that conversation, right? So, why this is helpful is again, it allows a place for the brain to dump the stuff that it is really spinning on. Your brain is a predictor machine, it wants to keep you safe. And so, part of that is that anticipation of all the things that coulda, woulda, shoulda go wrong. So when you can put that down on a piece of paper, or if you don't have a piece of paper, even reminding your brain, like, okay, is this thing we're stuck on? Is this something that we have control over, something that we don't? And if you don't, remind your brain, hey, whew, that's out of our control. Let's focus over here on what we can actually kind of create momentum with. Another tools that can be helpful is this idea of self-compassion for yourself in the middle of the night. And I actually thought of you all this morning because I woke up, it was like 4, I don't know, 52 or something like that. It was a little before 5 a.m. and I could not get back to sleep. And I was still tired and I did not want to be done with the sleep. And it's this idea of like when you are up in the middle of the night, instead of watching that clock and just bemoaning the fact that you are still up and you're going to be so tired in the morning if you don't get to sleep and right? You really, really ramp up this idea of like, okay, whew, taking a breath and inviting yourself towards some compassion of like, this is hard and it's going to be okay. Right. Some a book that I checked out from the library years ago, which I found was helpful, is 200 phrases for peaceful and deep sleep. But they have these little mantras, these things that you can say to yourself. And these were some of my favorites. This idea of in this moment, I am well and I am supported, or I will sleep when my body is ready to sleep. It will be okay. I use that one all the time. I will sleep when my body is ready to sleep. It's going to be okay. Or in this moment, I choose peace, right? You're up and you don't have 100% of control of getting yourself back to sleep. We know this. And so if you're up anyways, how can you offer yourself that gentleness, that compassion, even in the midst of a difficult thing? Having some phrases that you can say back to yourself can really be helpful. The 4-7-8 breath is one of my favorites. This comes from the work of Dr. Andrew Weil. He's out of the University of Arizona's medical school. He's also was trained in yoga. And so it's this idea of breathing in for the count of 4, holding for the count of 7, and exhaling for the count of 8. So that looks like right? So this is really, really helpful, especially through that inhale with the nasal breathing, increases nitric oxide production, slows the breathing rate. It helps with relaxation and sleep. It also signals to your nervous system, you're safe, you're okay. We can rest and relax. So, any sort of breathing tool that you can come up with and support yourself with in the middle of the night can be really helpful. Those apps that we talked about, again, very, very helpful. Gentle pressure and containment. That is this deep pressure simulation. So, weighted blankets or even kind of a gentle cupping of your shoulders, of your hands, of your chest. That firm touch can really help with calming the nervous system. And this is a very unpopular tip, but it is very much supported by research of getting out of bed. If it has been more than 20 or 30 minutes, to get out of bed and go to someplace else. Like a lot of folks, we don't have like an extra guest bedroom you can pop into. So maybe it's going out to the couch, keeping the lights dimmed as low as possible, having some support for yourself. I've had some clients put together like a midnight basket filled with like Sudokus and word puzzles, books, knitting, um, calming app, any of those things that can be helpful for you to help your body relax. And you can try to go back to bed in a little while. So that idea of getting out of the bed is to help your brain associate the bed with sleep and not wakefulness. And so when we are like repeatedly staying in bed, even when we aren't sleeping, it can have that association to it. All right. I won't go through all of these. This is a great book by Ariana Huffington, all about better sleep. Um, I'm just going to highlight a couple here. Don't charge your phone next to your bed. We know this. It can be so hard. See if you can gently escort your devices out of your bedroom. A lot of us use phones for an alarm. What I've done is I use an old phone that doesn't have any social media on it, doesn't have any news sources on it. It's just got a few of my calming apps on there. It's got my alarm, and that allows me to, not doom scroll at 3 in the morning. I have here number 6, Starry Mr. Snuffles, no pets on the bed. If you have pets that sleep with you, and for some folks it totally works, but what we know and what sleep studies suggest is that like we may not remember waking up, but anytime they shuffle or they move or they get on or off the bed, we kind of are roused out of what could be deep sleep. And then we've got to start the whole cycle over again. So if you find that you're waking up and maybe you've got a pet in the bed, that might be something you want to play with. And I was just going to point number 8 out because I find that really kind of interesting as well. Pajamas and night dresses and even special t-shirts send a sleep-friendly message to your body. If you wore it to the gym, don't wear it to bed, right? So this idea of like having some sleeping clothes for yourself, again, another kind of signal to the brain of like, oh yeah, okay, we're putting on our jammies. We're getting ready for bed. All right. And then I was just going to say a couple things about waking up, um, right? Of like buy a louder alarm clock. But this one, sunlight as soon as possible. So stepping outside, even within that first 5 to 10 minutes of waking up, you don't have to step out there for a long time, but that can really, really help to reset that circadian rhythm for yourself, as can eating breakfast, right? It can kind of train your body's hunger cues, and that can also be a helpful thing for waking up. And this one cannot be overstated enough. Try not to blow it on the weekends. Staying up late on the weekends sends the brain into an entirely new set of scheduling priorities. So Monday at 6 a.m. can feel like 4 a.m. What the research suggests is that not straying an hour either direction. So on the weekend, not staying up more than an hour later than you normally would. And unfortunately, wah wah, not waking up more than an hour later than you would on your regular work schedule. And I know I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there you go. So lastly, some ideas here for making a sleep action plan. Think about what time you want to be in bed. How are you going to relax before your head hits the pillow, right? What sleep tips really resonate with you? Where are you thinking you could make some improvements, right? What are 4 reliable things that you want to do besides brushing your teeth and washing your face, right? That you can add to your sleep routine that can really invite your body into a sleep schedule? And where do you anticipate having struggle? This is something that is tricky and challenging, right? Don't try all the things at once, but give yourself a variety of options. And if you're having trouble, reach out. One of the things that both myself and my colleague Jackie Carroll, we love to do is talk to folks about sleep. So set up a consult with us, and we can go deeper into your sleep routine, kind of tweak it a little bit, find out where those slippery spots are, and get yourself as much support as you can. So there we go, everybody. I would love to hear any questions that might be coming up for you. Yeah, anything that's helpful, anything you want to try, pop it in the chat, take yourself off mute. Would love to hear.
Good question.
Yeah.
Actually, great presentation. I have the hardest time falling asleep, but I'm one of those people at night. I like to take notes, and when I'm in bed, I start thinking a little bit about work. and I usually put it on my phone and email it to myself. But you said that's okay, but yet the blue screen also. So I don't know about a notebook. I could try that, I guess. But do you see a problem with continuing to do that on my phone?
I mean, if it works for you, I'd say do it. You can definitely like turn the light down as much as possible. And I think most phones do have like a sleep mode that you could have your phone automatically like set into at like 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You could kind of mess around with the settings that way. I think what gets tricky is like when we're on that blue screen for a long time, we're watching a show or a video or a TikTok, right? And then we're really stimulated. But I would say if you find that writing those notes are helpful and just emailing it to yourself and then getting off, if you've got the self-discipline for that, go for it. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything regarding naps throughout the day? I tend to nap as soon as I get home from work. Oh yeah. So I don't know what time you get home from work, but there's a lot of information out there. As we age, naps can be a really helpful thing. Our sleep cycles tend to get into shorter bursts, and so you may, kind of think of that. For some of our elders, right? Napping throughout the day is essential. If you do nap, I've seen research that really suggests not napping after 3 or 4 p.m. So I don't know what time you get home from work, but if you find that it is interrupting your sleep. We have something called sleep pressure. We could spend a lot of time talking about it, but essentially, you want your body to have enough sleep pressure so that you feel tired, right? So if you do take a nap, I would try to move it as early as you could in the day, and I would really, really not have it go more than 30 minutes. And if you are noticing a harder time falling asleep, see if you can play with the nap or maybe remove it and see if that helps with the overall sleep. And yeah, definitely shoot me an email, or we could, if you want to have a consult, we could do that as well. Another question here. What about Sunday afternoon naps for 45 minutes to an hour? I think again, it depends on, is it interrupting your sleep? Do you find that you can easily get to sleep Sunday evening at your regular time, right? And if it's not disrupting that, if you don't notice a problem, then yeah, have at it. Again, the research is really like those 30-minute naps for adults are kind of where that sweet spot is. Those longer naps at 45 minutes to an hour, again, can really disrupt that sleep pressure, kind of resets it. And your body may not be as tired when it is time to go to bed Sunday evening. So just kind of notice, and you can kind of play around with it and see what's helpful. Good questions. Anybody else? Okay, yeah. Does eating food past a certain time affect anything as well? If you mentioned it earlier, may I miss it? Yeah, I have seen some things that digestion, like eating food too close to a bedtime, same with like exercising too close to your bedtime. It's basically like your body systems are kind of ramped up. So yeah, I guess I don't have a definite time point for you. But if you're noticing like any sort of indigestion, or again, like you're just noticing the tiredness, I would try to keep that eating, maybe before 7 p.m. to be done with that. If you're not going to bed till 11 or midnight, probably not a big deal to eat at 8. But, if you're eating a meal at 8 and trying to go to bed at 9, yeah, digestion can definitely kind of arouse those body systems for sure. Yeah. Anything else? All right. Well, such a great time connecting with y'all, and please don't hesitate to reach out. I will send these slides to Azetta, and she can send them out to you. My email is at the bottom here of these slides, amy.rk@uky.edu. And if I can support you in your sleep journey, please, please don't hesitate to reach out.